Exposed. How my son's wedding nameplate labeled me a charity case, transformed my life forever. The day Noah had waited for was finally here. With a heart full of expectations, his wedding day glimmered like the afternoon sun bouncing off the pristine white aisle. Sarah, a devoted single mother in her early 40s, stood proudly overseeing the last-minute details from her little corner of the beautifully decorated reception hall. She could hardly believe that the boy she raised, the boy who once scattered crayons across the kitchen floor, was now ready to marry his high school sweetheart. Yet as she flitted around, tacking homemade decorations and adjusting table settings, an uneasy feeling simmered beneath the surface. Sarah worked tirelessly to piece together the dream wedding on a shoestring budget, cleaning houses during the day and waiting tables at the local diner by night. The excitement enveloped her, but so did the gnawing anxiety about finances. What if it wasn't enough? Noah deserved the best, and his happiness was her ultimate priority. When Sarah spotted the nameplates at the reception, she envisioned a bright future. However, that dream shattered when she saw her charity case. The careless label left her breathless, stinging like a slap on her cheek. The tables glimmered with luxuriously arranged flowers and till-late laughter, but that one hurtful phrase clouded everything. A label that stripped away her joy, hovering over her like a dense fog. In that moment, Sarah's determination ignited. No longer would she bend to the judgment of others. With her heart pounding, she took a breath and pushed through the hurt. She reached out to neighbors, her makeshift support system, with a desperate request to combat not just the label, but the very perception of worth that it signified. Each call and visit galvanized her community as they began to share their stories, setting off a ripple of unity that transcended class boundaries. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the wedding celebration unfolded, laughter and chatter surrounded Sarah, highlighting her quiet determination. She saw the disapproving glances from affluent guests, but she steeled herself. Just as the clinking of glasses reached a crescendo, an argument erupted between one of the groom's relatives and a family friend. The air thick with tension, she could feel it. Each heartbeat resonated against the walls of the hall. Should she confront it? Should she walk away, hoping to preserve the precious moment? Every second felt like an eternity. And just when Sarah thought she could slip away unnoticed, eyes turned towards her. The moment had arrived. In that charged atmosphere, Sarah stood at a junction of emotions. She could either succumb to insecurity or rise as a voice against judgment. What if this became more than just her struggle? Would it challenge the perceptions of worth, actually redefining what it meant to truly celebrate love? The whispering uncertainty loomed large, but within her bubble of anxiety, hope sparkled ever so faintly. Sarah had before her a chance not just to reclaim her dignity, but to spark a conversation that might change everything. The confrontation lingered in the air, charged and electric, as the argument between the bride's relative and the family friend escalated. All eyes landed on Sarah, frozen in that fleeting moment. The laughter faded into a murmur, and every eye seemed to expect something from her. This was her moment, but the weight of it felt monumental. With her heart racing, she stepped forward. She could feel her palms sweat as she faced the assembly of guests who had automatically judged her based on a single word: charity. But what did that even mean? Did it really define her life? Did it convey everything she fought for? Noah's happiness was at stake. She had supported his dreams against all odds, showed up year after year. And now here she was with a chance to defend not just herself but every mom who struggled in silence. Can we just take a breath and remember where we are? She began, her voice steady but firm. Today is about love, not judgment. The room silenced. A pair of skeptical eyes narrowed, but most guests looked unsure about how to respond. Still, Sarah pushed ahead. Who among us hasn't faced hardship? Who among us hasn't had to ask for help? We're all here to celebrate something beautiful between Noah and Lily. Nothing should tarnish that. Not even a nameplate. Some guests exchanged glances, appearing contemplative. Sarah took a step forward, emboldened by the moment. We are all part of this community. I may not have $1 million wedding to showcase, but I've poured everything I have into raising my son. Isn't that what truly matters? Her voice caught, wavering with emotion. She felt the shift in the room, the collective understanding drawing people together. A few familiar faces broke into soft smiles, and her neighbors nodded in silent support. Then, against the backdrop of a beautiful day, laughter began to bubble up again. This time, it wasn't snide or judgmental. It was the laughter of shared humanity, of recognition, and suddenly, the argument faded into the background. Sarah felt a rush of relief wash over her, as though a dam had broken and opened the floodgates of acceptance. As she looked around the hall, she saw her friends from the community stand a little taller, a little prouder. They joined her, united as individuals who faced life as struggles together. Noah approached, his eyes wide with admiration. "Mom, that was amazing." She smiled, but an undercurrent of anxiety still lurked within her. Was this truly enough? She glanced at the nameplate again, that word feeling heavier than ever. Yes, they had just turned a moment of judgment into a celebration of resilience. But how could she ensure this wasn't just a fleeting triumph? Just then, Lily's father raised his glass, breaking the tension as he toasted to the bride and groom, and the sound of clinking glasses floated through the air once more. Sarah felt hopeful, but the journey was far from over. What she didn't realize was how her voice in that moment had inspired others. As the reception progressed, whispers of her courage spread like wildfire, offering her new opportunities to share her story. But before she could fully grasp the change unfolding around her, the DJ called everyone to the dance floor, ready to celebrate love with newfound fervor. She hesitated, her feet glued to the ground. There was still more to say, more to challenge. Could she really transform this moment into something greater? Could she shift the narrative not just in her life, but for others like her? With resolve flooding her heart, Sarah stepped into the dance area, embracing the rhythm of music and laughter. She was determined to keep this newfound momentum alive. What would her journey look like now? And how might she navigate the path of raising awareness against judgment? A new realization awaited her as the music swelled. A call to action had just begun. What awaited Sarah on this shifted path? As the rhythm of the music enveloped her, Sarah felt the shift in energy around her. Guests began to take their places on the dance floor, laughter filling the air again as couples twirled and children dashed between legs. In that moment, she lost herself in the beat, the music resonating with her newfound sense of purpose. Noah joined her, his boyish grin contagious. He pulled her into the dance, and for a fleeting moment, the worries evaporated. She spun alongside him, their laughter echoing like a joyous anthem. But in the back of her mind, the question still loomed. What next? As the songs transitioned, the atmosphere shifted from joyous celebration to heartfelt nostalgia. A slow, tender ballad filled the space, and couples began to sway closely, lost in their own world. Sarah stood at the edge, mesmerized by Noah and Lily as they shared their first dance. Their love glowed bright, an inspiring beacon of hope, but it also ignited a flame of determination within her. "Mom, you should dance with someone," Noah called out, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "Why not join in?" She hesitated. It had been years since she had danced with anyone, and the thought made her stomach flutter. Yet somewhere deep inside, she felt a spark of bravery. "Okay," she shouted back, surprising herself at her own enthusiasm. As the dance floor beckoned her, she glanced around, searching for a partner. It was then she noticed a familiar figure. Sarah's neighbor, Greg, standing off to the side with a glass in hand. He was a kind man, someone who had also faced his fair share of struggles, balancing work and family life. Gathering her courage, she approached him. "Hey Greg, want to dance?" His eyes widened, caught off guard. Then he smiled, nodding slowly. "I'd love that." They stepped onto the dance floor together, surrounded by swirling skirts and happy faces. With every step, the music swept them both into a moment of shared joy, and Sarah felt lighter, the weight of expectations beginning to transform. "This is nice," he said, his voice gentle amidst the melodies around them. "Yeah, it is," she replied, laughing softly. As they danced, Sarah shared pieces of her journey, her challenges, her dreams, and why she stood up earlier. Greg listened intently, his expression shifting from amusement to understanding. You know, he said after a moment, you really changed the dynamics today. People are talking about it. They see you differently now. His words struck her, the truth resonating deep within. It wasn't just about her any longer. It was about every person hidden behind labels like charity case. With a newfound sense of purpose, Sarah glanced around the room, seeing faces that reflected her journey, moms, dads, friends and family, a tapestry of lives woven together by struggle and resilience. Maybe I can do something with this, she thought. Maybe I can start a conversation that needs to happen. As the song slowed to an end, Sarah felt invigorated. But just as quickly, apprehension washed over her. What did she really want to do? How could she harness this powerful moment and turn it into lasting change? The dance floor began to buzz with life again, and Sarah realized her transformation was just getting started. Let us talk, she said to Greg as the song finished. I have an idea. A project that can help others. Just as he nodded, intrigued, a loud crash reverberated from across the hall, followed by gasps. Sarah's heart raced as she turned toward the sound, fear gripping her. What had happened? Was the celebration about to take a darker turn? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she faced the commotion. People parting like the Red Sea revealed a toppled table with glassware scattered across the floor. The laughter and joy that had filled the room now swirled into confusion, and worried expressions flickered across familiar faces. Is everyone okay? Greg asked, his voice dipping low, searching for answers among the panicked guests. She nodded, though her pulse raced, drowning out the clatter around them. Her eyes darted toward the source of the noise. To her relief, it was just a couple of tipsy guests, tangled in their own excitement and clumsiness. But the sight jolted something deep within her. One small accident could change the mood in an instant. Let us check it out, Sarah said, eager to break the tension. As they navigated through the crowd, Sarah caught bits of conversation laced with concern and rising gossip. Did you see that? What if someone got hurt? What would this do for the moment? It was clear. Everyone was eager to judge, to speculate. She wanted to scream that none of this mattered, that they should focus on love and unity, not the little mishaps of life. But instead, she found herself retreating to her own thoughts. As she maneuvered through the throng, Greg's hand brushed against hers, sending a wave of warmth through her. You're doing amazing, he whispered, as if he knew the inner battle she was waging. Thanks, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But I wish we could ignore these distractions and just celebrate. It's what we need, togetherness. Not these labels or fears. Let us make it happen, he encouraged, his genuine smile bringing a flicker of hope. As the music switched to something peppy, laughter trickled back. The incident was soon forgotten, replaced by couples dipping back into the rhythm of celebration. With a deep breath, Sarah realized this was her moment. Greg, she said, the spark brightening in her chest. What if I organized an event for the community? Something that brings everyone together, where labels don't matter. Just people. His eyes lit up with enthusiasm. I think that's a great idea. A charity event, but different. You can showcase people's stories. It'll break barriers. Sarah's heart quickened. Yeah, exactly. People will share their journeys, and we can support each other, empower one another. It's not just about asking for help. It's about celebration and connection. Count me in, he said, his approval lifting her spirit higher. We can work on this together. The idea blossomed in her mind, weaving connections that had once felt impossible. The faces of her neighbors, friends, and even strangers began to dance in her head, each carrying their own burdens and stories. For the first time in a long while, she felt purpose beyond herself. As she caught sight of Noah chatting with Lily, his laughter buoyant, Sarah felt the warmth of the moment flood back. But another loud noise, a voice rising above the crowd, interrupted her thoughts, drawing attention. Everyone! Can I have your attention, please? A voice boomed from the side of the hall. Sarah's heart raced once more. Who was it? What did they want? Was the celebration really safe? And would her dream of change be overshadowed by whatever announcement was about to unfold? A hush swept through the room, thick with anticipation. Sarah squinted against the dim light, trying to spot the source of the commanding voice. The guests turned, their previous laughter frozen. Faces now a mix of curiosity and tension. The voice belonged to Rob, a local business owner and a charismatic figure in their community. He stood atop a wooden crate, his brow glistening under the soft glow of the chandeliers. As he glanced out into the crowd, it was clear this wasn't just any announcement. "I want to say a few words," he called out, his tone mixing enthusiasm with urgency. "Tonight, we're here to celebrate, but we must also acknowledge the challenges many of us face. The town has decided to support those in need." A murmur rippled through the audience, drawing Sarah's attention fully to Rob as her stomach tightened into a knot. She felt the wind leave her lungs, a part of her yearning to close her ears to what followed. "It's about charity," he continued, "and how we can support each other directly. Every new business, every new venture deserves a helping hand. And tonight, we're launching a new initiative. A program to assist families who've fallen on hard times." Sarah could almost hear the gears turning in people's heads. She sensed the collective judgment beginning to form. Words like charity case hovered in the air, waiting to be whispered among the crowd. Would they see the good, or only the burden? "Here's my proposal," Rob continued, his voice rising with passion. "Instead of traditional donations, let us host an event where we can share stories. Stories of resilience and hope. It might bring people together, break down the walls between us." As he spoke, Sarah realized the very idea she had just shared with Greg was unfolding in front of her, though it was tinged with a different shade. Was it charity if she was trying to create something beautiful and empowering? Or was it just a label meant to isolate? As Rob continued, her mind raced. The weight of his words settled heavily on her shoulders. What if people only see me, or my plans, as just another charity case? She thought bitterly. "Together," Rob concluded, "we will raise awareness and funds to help those who need it most." The room erupted into applause, but it felt muted to Sarah. She exchanged a nervous glance with Greg, who raised an eyebrow, clearly sensing her discomfort. "What do you think?" he whispered. "Is this what I wanted?" Sarah couldn't help but question. It felt right and yet so wrong. What if this community didn't want connection? What if they wanted to see themselves as saviors instead of partners? Would her vision of unity endure, or would it drown beneath labels and expectations? Before she could respond, a rush of conversation filled the air. People started to rally around Rob, their excitement igniting a communal spirit that she both craved and feared. Sarah turned back towards her own thoughts, frantically questioning her path. The event could be a chance for real change, but these labels were suffocating. "Sarah," Greg's firm voice pulled her attention back. "We can still launch something meaningful, can't we?" But deep down the fear lurked. With the spotlight on Rob, her idea felt like a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered, yet also a dangerous risk. Why change the game when it's already set? A thought whispered in her mind. And then, just as uncertainty clouded her hope, another voice rang out, this time, angry and discontented. "But what about those of us who don't need your charity? What about our stories?" The crowd turned again, the earlier unity fracturing into something more complex. Sarah's heart began to race. Would this unravel the very fabric of community she hoped to weave? She felt the insistent pull of the moment brewing with potential both thrilling and terrifying. As emotion bubbled within her, she realized she stood at a crossroads. Then came the punchline. This is not just about charity, it's about how we, as a community, choose to see each other. And with that, Sarah knew she had a choice to make. Would she step into the chaos and redefine the conversation, or allow the weight of expectation to shatter her dream before it even began? As she inhaled deeply, readying herself to speak, she felt the universe hold its breath alongside her. What would she say next? The air crackled with tension as Sarah hesitated. Every heartbeat echoed in her ears, and she caught glimpses of the faces around her, some eager, others wary. The uncertainty hung heavy, a weight she couldn't shake. The momentum Rob had built felt like a tidal wave, crashing over her, threatening to pull her under. "Hey," Greg said softly, squeezing her hand. "You've got this." His quiet encouragement sparked a flicker of hope. For a moment, she wondered what it would feel like to step into the spotlight, to share her own story. Would they listen? Could her voice rise above the chaos? But then doubt crept back in, wrapping around her like a fog, making it hard to see clearly. The crowd was still buzzing, whispers rising and falling like waves on a shore. Sarah felt the pressure mounting, a tide of voices rising against Rob's vision. Among the murmurs, she recognized frustration, resentment. This wasn't just an open-hearted project. It mirrored deeper divides, haves and have-nots, givers and receivers. People don't want charity. They want respect, she thought, the realization hitting her like a splash of cold water. The woman's voice, once filled with anger, echoed in her head. What about our stories? With a deep breath, Sarah stepped closer to the improvised stage, her legs feeling heavier with each movement. She could feel a few eyes on her, curious and calculating. Can I say something? She finally called out, her voice steadier than she felt. Silence fell like a curtain as the crowd shifted its attention. Some faces softened, while others remained skeptical. Rob turned to her, his surprise mingled with delight. Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you, Sarah. Sarah's cheeks flushed warm as she stood in the glow of the chandeliers, but she fought through the apprehension. I know what it's like to struggle, to feel like you're just one label away from being defined as less than. She paused, feeling the weight of her own words. But what if we shared stories that connect us instead? Stories that show resilience, bringing light to the darkest days? The crowd began to lean in, curiosity piqued, but Sarah pressed onward, driven by something deeper than fear. Too often we think of each other only through the lens of hardship. Yes, we all face challenges, but we've also known triumphs. We've loved, lost, built families. We've lived. Nods of acknowledgement shifted through the crowd. Sarah noticed Rob listen attentively, his charisma now transformed into genuine respect as he watched her find her voice. We can build something beautiful together, she continued, her conviction growing. Not just another charity event, but a celebration of our community. Every story matters. We can inspire each other, not just support each other. The thought lifted her spirits. But then, another voice piped up from the back, skeptical yet echoing the uncertainty she had felt moments before. How do we know it won't just turn into a show? A spectacle for everyone else while we pour out our hearts? Sarah's heart raced again. The words were sharp, and she felt the truth behind them. That's a risk we must face together, she replied, her pulse quickening. It won't be easy. But if we don't take that step, how do we ever break out of these labels? The tension in the room shifted, eyes darting to one another as the collective energy shifted. She felt empowered, pushing through her fears, fueled by the flicker of connection she saw forming in the crowd. Let us redefine how we see each other, not just through the lenses of need or assistance, but as partners in our journey. Who's with me? Awkward applause broke out, tempered by lingering doubts. Yet the air felt different. Sarah had made a crack in the facade. Perhaps hope could flicker in the shadows after all. As she stepped back, Greg's hand found hers again, and he smiled with pride, but the question still loomed. Had she really started a new conversation, or merely stirred the pot of discontent further? Would the community open their hearts, or would the fractures deepen? With that weight on her shoulders, Sarah could only wonder what the next few moments held in store for them all. What path had she truly set in motion? The applause faded, leaving a tangible silence hanging in the air like a thick fog. Sarah stood there, heart racing, the excitement of the moment battling with the lingering doubt inside her. She exchanged a glance with Greg, who looked both proud and concerned. Did she really have the strength to keep this conversation alive? As the silence stretched, Sarah scanned the crowd again. She spotted Rob, his expression a mix of encouragement and trepidation. Had she strayed too far from his vision? Her gut twisted at the thought, but she steeled herself. This wasn't just about Rob's idea, it was about something bigger. We need to talk about our stories, Sarah pressed, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. We each have experiences that shape us. If we open up, we can find the strength in one another. A few heads nodded, and she saw it, a flicker of understanding igniting curiosity. But then, a woman in the front row raised her hand. What if we share our stories and no one listens? What if we reveal our scars and are still judged? The question cut through the air. It struck a chord, resonating with unspoken fears in the crowd. Sarah felt the weight of it, but she couldn't back down now. I understand that fear, she said, her voice softening. I've carried that burden myself. But what if we create a space where stories are honored, where vulnerability becomes our strength? The woman's brow relaxed slightly, and Sarah pressed on. Let us not just focus on what we need from each other. Let us focus on how we can uplift through joy as much as through pain. Picture a gathering where we celebrate our achievements, our dreams, and yes, even our failures. A low murmur of agreement swept through the crowd. She could sense a shift. The energy was almost electric. With each word, she felt walls crumbling. Imagine a night of storytelling, she continued, her heart pounding with excitement. Food from our favorite cultures, music from our histories, laughter ringing through the air as we connect over what sets us apart and what draws us together. Rob nodded, his enthusiasm returning. Yes, we could host an open mic night. Everyone could share a story, a memory, a piece of their lives. Another voice chimed in, clear and confident. I'd share how I started my own business after losing everything. I want people to see how far I've come. There was a ripple of agreement, and Sarah felt encouragement blossoming all around her. Exactly. Sarah beamed. This is just the beginning. But we need everyone's buy-in. There were murmurs of approval. Questions began to fly. How do we make this happen? How do we ensure no one is left out? Can we really do this? At that moment, Sarah felt alive. This was what she had longed for, the chance to be part of something meaningful. But just as quickly, she felt a twinge of doubt. Was she equipped to drive this forward? What if the hopeful energy fizzled, leaving her empty-handed? She took a deep breath. Let us channel this energy into action. If we commit to sharing, we can change the narrative of our community together. Who's ready to join the planning team? Cheers erupted. Encouragement flowed like a wave through the crowd, filling Sarah with adrenaline. They were on the brink of something transformative. Yet, just as excitement reached its peak, a shadow fell over the room. From the back, a familiar voice cut through the jubilance, low and laced with skepticism. And how do we know this won't collapse into the same struggles, the fear of being heard or, worse, being ridiculed? Every head turned, a sudden chill settling in as they all faced the source of the doubt. Sarah's heart raced again. She could feel time slowing, anticipation building as she prepared to respond. Could she sway the crowd once more? Or had the seeds of doubt taken root too deeply? Would their new plan flourish or fail before it even had a chance? There was no way to tell just yet, but Sarah knew one thing for certain. This was a moment that would define her, and she was ready to fight for every story that deserved to be told. Sarah took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment. She locked eyes with the voice that had pierced the collective excitement, a man she recognized from a past workshop. His name eluded her as she searched for words. I get your concern, she said, her voice steady and clear now. But we won't let it become that. It's up to us to create an environment where honesty reigns. The man's brow furrowed. What if some people come and their stories aren't enough? What if they feel small? She sensed the pain beneath his words. He wasn't just skeptical, he was scared. Everyone's story matters, she replied, her heart swelling. It's not about how big or brave it is, it's about being real. We're here to lift each other up. This isn't just a platform, it's a lifeline. The crowd shifted, the air electric with mixed feelings, hope next to doubt. The vulnerability in her voice seemed to coax out hidden fears. Would they trust this vision pieced together by simple words? She could see some nodding, others lost in their thoughts. Greg stepped forward, his comforting presence wrapping around her as he added, sharing is part of healing. We need to embrace what makes us vulnerable. If we stand together, facing the worry and shame, we can create something beautiful. A collective murmur of agreement washed over the crowd. The man's face softened, the tightness in his jaw easing slightly. And if we do this, if we really open up, won't we expose ourselves too much? Yes, Sarah exclaimed, the passion igniting once more. But letting ourselves be vulnerable is also a tremendous strength. It shows courage, and it inspires others. We can find healing in community, and that's worth the risk. Right, she continued, sensing the growing energy. We share our stories not just to vent but to connect, to learn. We'll go beyond our fears together. Think of the empowerment that could come from this. She watched as a woman in the third row lifted her hand, trembling slightly. I've never shared my story outside my journal. I've always been afraid of being judged. But maybe if enough of us come together, maybe we can find the courage to face our fears. Yes, Sarah shouted, her heart swelling with hope. You already have that courage inside you. So many of us are waiting for someone else to step forward. Let's show one another it's okay to be human, flaws and all. A wave of energy coursed through the room. The uncertainty began to ebb away, leaving behind eagerness. One by one, hands began to rise. I'll help organize. I want to share about my journey through loss. I can handle the food. Revitalization grew like wildflowers breaking through rigid ground. Sarah's heart soared. She felt buoyed by the combined spirit of everyone around her. Then the familiar skeptic stood again, furrowing his brow slightly. But what happens if someone doesn't feel heard? What if it turns into chaos? Suddenly, the energy in the room stilled. Her own hope now tinged slightly with doubt. Who would be responsible for keeping this delicate balance? Would they really be able to protect one another while dancing on the tightrope of vulnerability? Sarah swallowed hard, glancing at Rob, even at the woman who had voiced support earlier. She knew the weight was on her shoulders, and in that silence, a familiar resolve washed over her. Then we address it. Together. We can't shy away from the tough conversations. We hold each other accountable, ensuring everyone feels seen and valued. Some faces brightened at her boldness, while others still hesitated. Sarah could see a glimmer of hope in the crowd. But that doubt still hung there, wavering like a candle flickering in the wind. Would they be ready to embrace this? To take that risky step into sharing? As the doubt mingled with excitement, she felt certainty rising within. This wasn't just a temporary plan for one night. It was the beginning of a movement. Sarah focused on the man who had sparked her concern. Let us not shy away from the conversation. Let us lay the groundwork for bonding through our shared fears. Together. I promise, we can do this. At that moment, she could feel the crowd leaning closer, waiting. But as she prepared to lay out her final vision, another voice broke through, a whisper that tightened the air once more. What if we fail? The question echoed, and Sarah took a step back, the room plunging back into uncertainty. Could she rally them again? Or was this moment slipping away? The silence hung like a curtain in the room. Sarah felt the collective breath held tight, each person wrestling with their own fears. She could see the man who had spoken earlier, his expression now a mixture of concern and curiosity. Her heart raced as she searched for a way to transform that whisper of doubt into a chorus of hope. Failure can be a part of growth, she finally said, her voice softer but firm. What makes us strong is not never falling but rising together after we do. A ripple of murmurs passed through the crowd. Some faces reflected worry, while others showed glimmers of understanding. She sensed the tide shifting. But was it enough? Think of it this way. Sarah leaned into her words, drawing them in. When you're learning to ride a bike, you might fall. It's scary, sure. But each time you get back up, you grow stronger. This is no different. Sharing our stories might feel like venturing onto wobbly wheels, but every time someone speaks, we're all learning to balance together. Greg stepped closer, visibly moved, and chimed in. It's about creating a safety net. If we fall, we'll catch each other. In a way, that's the beauty of this community. We're here for one another. The crowd began to shift again, a few heads nodding along. Sarah's heartbeat synced with their resolve as she pressed on. What if we redefine failure? Instead of seeing it as missing our mark, let us see it as a stepping stone towards connection. A woman in the front row wiped away a tear, and Sarah locked onto her, feeling the weight of shared experiences. What if one voice, one story, makes a difference to someone across the room? What if one person finds courage through someone else's honesty? Is that not a success? Hands started to rise again, but this time with more determined energy. Yes, I want to share. I've felt alone in my grief, but I won't be anymore. The man with eyebrows furrowed once again looked at her, but now there was a hint of vulnerability in his gaze. So, what you're saying is even if we expose ourselves, it can lead to connection instead of pain? Exactly. Sarah beamed, feeling the light breaking through the clouds of doubt. Every time someone speaks their truth, they take a step away from isolation. We're here to lift each other, not judge. Healing happens in the sharing. The crowd seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief, hope threading through the air like a song. Individual stories were flickering to life in their minds, each one waiting to be told. Sarah could imagine the threads of their lives weaving together, forming a tapestry of shared experience. But then another voice broke through, stronger and tinged with skepticism. And what about those who won't understand? What if they shut us down? The tension in the room returned, sticky and tight. Sarah glanced at Greg, then at the faces around her. With anticipation building like the moment before a storm, she took a slow breath. That's exactly why we need to create a safe space, she said, her heart thumping. To prepare ourselves for those moments. We will listen. Every voice deserves respect. A hand shot up from the back, a man's voice ringing out. We can't control how people react, but we can control how we respond. Yes. Sarah agreed, her spirit rising. And in our response we can cultivate compassion. Even from those who don't understand, we can model what acceptance looks like. The wave of determination grew, voices mingling together like a symphony. But something still tugged at Sarah. A nagging question lingering in the air. Would they really be strong enough to weather the storms, to face discomfort while pushing through? In the surrounding energy, she sensed the gathering courage. But the pulse of uncertainty remained, like a drumbeat echoing in the background. As she gripped the edge of the podium, she felt the pivotal moment settle around her. So, are we ready to open this door together? Are we ready to embrace both our fears and our stories? The crowd fell silent once again, the weight of her question palpable. Sarah's gaze flicked to the back of the room, where doubt still hung in the air like thick fog. Would they take that leap, or would they stay rooted in fear? Awareness filled her being. This wasn't just about storytelling, it was about transformation. And just as quickly as that realization washed over her, another voice, quiet but powerful, spoke from the shadows. But what if we don't know how to start? And there it was. A new thread had entered the tapestry, demanding to be woven. Would they find a way to begin? The moment hung heavy in the air, laced with uncertainty. Sarah felt the weight of that question reverberate within her. What if they didn't know how to start? She took a step forward, locking eyes with the voice that had dared to expose a common fear, the fear of not knowing where to begin. That's okay, she replied, her heart racing with genuine empathy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Every journey starts with a single step. The crowd leaned in closer, hanging on to her words. She could feel a shift, hope mingling with vulnerability. Each one of us carries a story, but it's not about the grand performance. It's about honesty, sharing our truth, however messy or imperfect. She glanced over at Greg, who nodded encouragingly, his presence grounding her resolve. Perhaps we can organize smaller groups, intimate settings where each person can share at their own pace. Heads nodded. People began murmuring excitedly, exchanging quick glances. Yes. Someone shouted from the back, a voice bursting with newfound energy. We could have roundtable discussions where we can hear and be heard. Absolutely. Sarah beamed. We can create spaces that allow people to express themselves in ways that feel safe. Story sharing doesn't have to be daunting. It can be liberating. A ripple of agreement swept through the gathering, like a wave coaxing them forward. Sarah's heart raced, her pulse sinking with the enthusiasm building around her. So let us not focus on our fears but on the power of connection. The enthusiasm was contagious. People began brainstorming ideas, tossing suggestions back and forth. We can have a monthly meeting. I can help set up a community blog. Let us create a social media group where we can share and connect. This was it, the movement she had dreamed of was coming to life. Sarah felt the rush of purpose flooding her veins. The uncertainty that had threatened to engulf her was quickly being replaced by powerful resolve and camaraderie. Together, we can make this happen, she called out, lifting her arms to encourage the crowd. If we're going to change the way we see each other, let us do it boldly. Let us celebrate not just our struggles but our resilience, our love, our triumphs. Everyone deserves to be seen, to be heard. Laughter erupted, spirits lifted, but then that voice of doubt returned, slightly softer now. It's just what if no one shows up? Then we'll show up for ourselves. Sarah answered firmly, the conviction infusing her voice. Every single person here has something valuable to contribute. This is our chance to redefine what community means. Everyone who comes is one step closer to connection. Cheers erupted, the room igniting with renewed focus as the joy and excitement intertwined into a kaleidoscope of emotions. Sarah could see the worry ease across faces. Hope flourished amid the vibrant atmosphere. She could already envision the first gathering music, laughter, and shared memories and stories brought forth as a testament to the journey they all faced together. People started chatting, sharing their own ideas, excitement buzzing like fireflies against the dusky backdrop. Someone suggested a story circle, a weekly event on the lawn outside, gathered around a warm fire pit where everyone could share in a cozy atmosphere. Others proposed a community fair showcasing talents and stories, weaving together the fabric of connection through shared histories. As ideas flowed, Sarah's heart swelled with emotion. She caught Noah's eye from across the room. He stood among his friends, his smile radiating pride. In that moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. This wasn't just her fight anymore, it was theirs. They were all ready to break through the barriers of isolation and judgment together. With excitement still ringing in her ears, a knee-buckling realization struck her. They had turned an event plagued by a hurtful label into a canvas painted with hope and love. Tales of resilience binding them together through shared strength. Here, amid laughter and camaraderie, she knew they could forge something beautiful. As the discussions continued, the connection pulsed with energy, the air thick with possibility. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of this vibrant community surrounding her. This was the moment she had envisioned, a blossoming connection, no longer tinged by shame but wrapped in understanding. And just as she was ready to suggest they extend an invitation to the entire community to join their storytelling journey, Rob stepped back onto the improvised stage, this time with a hint of humility in his approach. I just wanted to say thank you, Sarah. Thank you for channeling our concerns onto something real and beautiful. I think we can all grow from this. Loud applause erupted in the hall, an outpouring of gratitude and unity that echoed against the walls. It was a profound moment, the culmination of shared vulnerabilities spiraling into something monumental. Feeling the warmth in her heart, Sarah smiled at Noah, at Greg, at everyone who stood together. They had begun not just a project but a movement of growth, connection, and compassion. Let us begin this journey, Sarah announced. Let us take every amazing idea and make it a reality. Together. The cheer echoed, brighter than before, as they stepped onto the path of their new beginning. And in the fabric of their shared stories, they would forge a bond that would transcend the labels that once held them back. Now was the time to build a community grounded in empathy, understanding, and love. It was all within their grasp. As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah felt hope shimmering in the air, the kind of hope that can only come from standing hand in hand, ready to reshape the world. Now let us take that connection out into the world. Don't wait one more second. You need to subscribe now and join us on this incredible journey of transformation. Leave a like, help us capture this moment. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this beautiful new beginning. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this change. The call to action is real. Let us spread this empowering message together.